Welcome to the Who's Left podcast, a show about Indiana politics, history, and culture from an unapologetically leftist perspective. My name is Scott Aaron Rogers, and I'm recording from Bloomington. We're releasing this episode during a week when the Indiana General Assembly is single-mindedly focused on one thing: delivering the 9-0 gerrymandered congressional maps Donald Trump demands. While the State House scrambles to carve real Hoosier communities into safe MAGA fiefdoms, working families across the state are staring down childcare cuts, defunded public schools, rising food insecurity, and collapsing local services. In other words, the supermajority is not focused on serving the voters who put them there, but serving their mad God King who demands complete loyalty under threat of violence. That contrast between the extremism demanded from above and the reality lived below is exactly why today's guest matters. Joining me for this episode is Nick Marshall. Nick isn't part of the political class, he isn't from some legacy family, and didn't have a road to the State House paved for him. He is forging his own path, climbing metaphorical mountains, fording rivers, and blazing new trails. Nick grew up in foster care. He survived heart surgery. He worked farms before dawn, maneuvered through systems that wanted to write him off, and became one of a tiny percentage of foster kids who go on to graduate from college. Today, he lives in Jeffersonville and works as an education advocate, helping families navigate schools, services, and the bureaucratic traps meant to keep people from getting the help they deserve. And while legislators in Indianapolis obsess over pleasing the Trump administration, Nick is talking to the people those lawmakers have forgotten. The parents losing access to affordable childcare, the families staring at ballooning grocery bills, the towns losing fire protection because of MAGA Mike Braun's so-called tax reform. Today's episode isn't so much about Nick's campaign as it is about looking at things from the view of the little people, a bottom-up perspective instead of top-down directives. In the following conversation, we'll get into his childhood in foster care and the heroic families that raised him. We'll talk about navigating rural Kentucky as one of the few black kids in the whole county to navigating urban Louisville as a small-town farm boy. We'll look at the unique makeup of Senate District 45, lessons from his first campaign 4 years ago, and his motivation for pursuing public service. We'll also hear what voters are telling him and how often their concerns come down to just wanting someone to listen. Real quick, before we get to the interview, won't you please listen to this plea for financial support? This is an independent media project. I don't paywall content. I don't sell out to advertisers, and I don't have billionaire benefactors. Only individuals like you keep this thing going. I refuse to gatekeep valuable information in the middle of a political crisis, even to my financial detriment. So please, if you find value in this work, go to whosleft.us and subscribe at the paid level. It's only $5 a month or $50 a year to help me write more, research more, and organize more. Not ready for long-term commitment? You can make a one-time contribution on Cash App or Venmo. Those links are in the show notes. And look, it is my sincere hope to turn this thing into a full-time progressive media outlet to pop the bubble of right-wing disinformation in the state, but I need your financial support to do so. And if that doesn't work for your budget at this time, I understand. You can still help out by liking and sharing on social media, commenting, leaving reviews, providing feedback, and forwarding articles to your people. We are building a community of Hoosiers dedicated to making this state and its government work for all of us, not just the elite few. Please, join us. Follow me on Blue Sky, Instagram, and Threads at whosleft.us, and on Facebook, X, TikTok, Mastodon, and YouTube at Who's Left. Tell the others. Let's build a radically democratic Indiana together. Thanks again. Now, here's my conversation with Nick Marshall. All right, I am here with Nick Marshall. Nick, welcome to the Who's Left podcast.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
I really appreciate you being here with me. Been looking forward to talking to you for a long time. You know, we've been trying to set this up for for a while now, and I'm glad we get a chance to finally do this. So, listen, I like to begin these things with what I call the easy dubs, not easy wins, but the easy W's in a journalistic sense. The who, what, when, where. Right now, obviously, the when is the 2026 election, and the what is you are running for Indiana State Senate in District 45. Yes.
That is correct.
But the real dubs I'm interested in is the who. So who is Nick Marshall? Introduce yourself to the good folks out there.
Well, my name is Nick Marshall. I grew up in the foster care system since I was an infant. And so, if it wasn't for two wonderful sets of foster families, I wouldn't be the person I am today. One of those was a farmer who put a 40 on a 40-acre farm with cattle, who put a shovel in my hand and taught me what true hard work and put a work ethic in me that stands today, and a teacher that showed true compassion by taking me to when I was 12 to have heart surgery, and she took care of me and was there before the surgery and after the surgery. And the other set was a foster family out of Louisville who was a military veteran that I shook his hand every day because he said yes to me after he served our country. And he told me how to earn people's respect. His wife was a caregiver that in order you care, you got to give. And I remember sitting across the table from her and she asked me, "What do you want to do next, Nick?" And that was college. And so what happened was all those families and culminated made me the person I am today, able to be one of 3 to 10% of foster kids that graduate from college from the University of Louisville with a communications degree, and now the proud father of two, and a husband of 9 years with my wife. And so that's who I am, and that's how I grew up. And if it wasn't for them, and I thank the man every day for them, I am them. And so I want to do what I can to give back, how they gave to me. I want to give back to my community.
Wow. Yeah, I mean that statistic that you gave really is startling. You said only 3 to 10% of kids who grow up in the foster care system wind up going on to graduate from college. Is that right?
That is correct. Not only do they graduate from high school at a lower rate than all other students, it's by at least 20 to 30% lower than regular students at school. Only 3 to 10% either go on to a two year college or a 4 year college, or even complete that. So I've defied the odds so many different ways, from heart surgery to getting a 4 year degree to becoming a father and a husband and a provider, and person that's given back to their community in so many different ways. So if you look at that, I strictly defy the odds. And like I said, I thank the man every day that I've defied the odds even more by putting my name on the ballot. And people ask me, "Are you a lawyer?" I go, "No, I'm just someone who stood up and decided to stand out and stand up and make sure that everybody has a fighting chance."
Well, you say you're not a lawyer. What do you do during the day when you're not running for office? Because God knows it might be a full time job, but it doesn't pay a damn thing yet.
This is true. My full time job is I'm an education advocate for a nonprofit. And what we do is we help families get past education barriers. And it can be from getting transportation to recently, we were just helping a family that found out that their child had cerebral palsy. So what did we do? I was able to spend at least almost 10 hours on the phone getting this family home instruction because they can't go to school. And what we've been doing is working on getting a power chair for that child. That way they can have that mobility not only inside the home but when they go out in the community. So that is some of the things that we do at my nonprofit. And one of the great things that I was able to do is help individuals that was just like me, that was a foster child, and able to help them walk across the line this past May of 2025 to graduate. And I just remember just getting done and finishing that work. And someone looked at me in my office and said, "Are you okay?" I said, "Nope." And I went into a room and I sat there and cried because that was me. That was me. And those foster families poured into me, and I was able to give back to help that individual graduate. And he looked at me and said, "Mr. Nick, I want to go to college." And I said, "Let's do it." And so that's what I do with my everyday work. There's a lot more stories with that, but that's just the gist of it. That's what we do.
Oh, that's beautiful. You mentioned that power chair, and I've seen firsthand, when my son was alive, how much that being able to get out and have that mobility and that independence meant to him, and how much it changed his life. It's just rewarding to see. I'm so glad that you get to do that every day. That and that you get to give back to your community in much the same way that the community gave to you. Tell us more about your foster family. Now you said there were two different families. Yeah. How did how did that go? Obviously, um, you know, you were with one family for a time, and then that ended, and you were with a different family. When did that happen? And I guess what were the circumstances around that?
Yes, so I was with the Rates family, and they lived in Hancock County, Kentucky. And so their dream was to have a 40-acre farm. And after my heart surgery and recovering, I worked on that farm. I ended up putting up fence posts, putting up barbed wire fences, getting chased by cows, wrangling them back in when they yes, chased by cows, wrangling them back in when they got out. And then also we would have to break the ice during the winter because the fence went around the pond so they could drink water and feed them before we went to school, uh, all before 6:30.
Wow.
And so sometimes we would be covered in mud because it was raining or be shivering. But hopefully we had if we didn't make the bus on time, we would do that. But what happened was I had to transition out of that home. They didn't want to give me up, but the state decided, hey, it was time for you to move. And so I went to a group home for a little bit until this foster family in Louisville, the Austin family, came to me. And she was really upset about how individuals in care were being treated because she worked for the home and said, went to her husband and said, we've got to do something. And her husband said, yes. So they got emergency certified, took me in at 17. And a little bit more about me is I was in alternative placement because they thought I was a bad kid. And they literally got me out of that alternative school, got me to a regular school, graduated top 10 of my class, got a full academic scholarship to the University of Louisville, once again, defying the odds. And so what they did and instilled and took care of me, that's who I am. And so that's how that happened, is like that transition happened. All of a sudden I was jolted at the age of 16, 17, from a farm to the big city of Louisville. And so it was a big culture shock, but that's what happened.
Wow.
Mhm.
Yeah, man. It's such a unique story. It really is, and listen, I don't want to be the elephant in the room, but like, not a lot of young black kids are growing up on farms in rural areas. What was that like?
So it was interesting. So let me say, and I learned so much. Um, we would cut 20 to 25 acres of that before we all got it ready for the cattle to move on there. And so it is a different, I did everything but cut tobacco. I was this close to cutting tobacco, before I moved. And so what that does is it is, I will say this, it's sometimes boring on being on the 40-acre farm, but you have things to do, got to go hunting, and got to learn so many different things. But now being in the big city, I'll be mowing my yard outside, and my neighbor came over to me and was like, man, who do you hire to do your lawn? I go, nobody, it's me. It's me. He goes, wow, man, it looks so good. And I've never seen that. I thought it was somebody else that was just working really hard on your yard when I'm out there passing by. I was like, nope, it's me. And so it really instills hard work. And I actually, we're going back to the farm here for Thanksgiving to see the Rates family. And it's so peaceful now. So like, I like being on the farm. I like that peace, and going fishing. It's something I just kind of hold in my heart. So I'm a country boy at heart and a city on the outside.
What about the school you went to? Rural schools are not exactly noted for their diversity.
That is That is true. So I was basically we were one of I believe three African American families in Hancock County. Um, I was one of two people African American on the basketball team, and so literally sometimes you get singled out, but also they wrap your hands around it. I remember being on that farm, and my foster dad. We were going from one section to the farm to the other. We're in this big blue truck, and he said, "Nick, one day someone's going to call you out of your name. You can either choose to fight or walk away. Whatever you do," and he was an African American man. Whatever you do, I support. And the day happened, and that conversation went off in my head, and I got up, slammed the chair against the lunch table, and then walked away. But he prepared me for that because he had lived in that community as one of only African American families in the community. So he wanted to prepare for me to happen because I didn't think it was going to happen to me. So that's some of the lessons I also learned on the farm too. Is like sometimes you get singled out, but it's all about how you handle the situation and which you handle situation how you hold yourself as a man too.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
100%. That's it's a tricky road to navigate. Like, listen, I'm a white dude. I've had it pretty easy. Whatever my station is in life, like if I've messed up, I've messed up, right? And I haven't had those hurdles placed in front of me that other folks have. Yeah, this man, you in addition to just the normal systemic race-based hurdles we have in this country, and we all know they exist. Yeah, but we grow up foster care system. That's another hurdle. You're in a maybe a rural community, which are underserved typically, just in general. Another hurdle, and you are just out there crushing it, man, thriving these days, and just an
Yeah,
inspiring story.
yeah. And I will say this.
So,
I was
yeah,
going to say
yeah,
this one more
please.
thing. When going to Louisville, it was a culture shock too. Remember, I'm on a 40-acre farm, all white community, only African American. Then I go to the big city where I'm going through metal detectors and everything. And now I'm getting it from both sides because of the way I talk, the way I present myself. And so, but still, it's how you handle yourself in the situation. And if that little lesson from the farm wasn't placed in me, I wouldn't be the person to have. And that's kind of have a little bit of perseverance or resilience and emotional intelligence to be able to handle those situations.
Can I ask you about that a little bit? Like being an outsider in a way in the black community.
Yes. And so that literally it's different. So I equated when I played basketball. They thought they could bully me around, do this stuff to me, but I just play the game. And when I play the game and they're like, "Oh no, we can respect him. He knows what he's doing and he able to do the things that we thought he couldn't because this was a country boy." But at the same time, I have the same things that happen to you that happen to me, but I have more scars that you can't see. So I'm going to help you and provide you whatever you need to get through the things, but I would get it from both sides. Yeah, he's not like us. He's not like that. So I might be an outsider, but I just stay in the middle and kind of support everybody. So I think that's kind of that lesson once again on the farm kind of instilled that into me. And I was also taught not to sometimes things don't back down. Don't back down. Don't quit. Because if they sense that fear in you, it's going to get deeper or more trouble coming.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so you grew up in Kentucky,
Mhm.
on the other side of the river. We won't hold that against you, but tell us where you're at now. Tell us a little bit about Senate District 45. What area of the state? I mean, you're in the general Kentuckiana area, obviously still. But tell us about 45. What counties, what townships is that represent?
Yes. So District 45 is all of Clark and a little bit of Floyd, like one fourth of Floyd. So basically, it is right in southern Indiana. across the river is Louisville, Kentucky. And we moved over to Jeffersonville, Indiana 6 years ago to grow our family and to get a home. We were searching for that. We were searching to have that American dream. We were able to obtain that. And so it is a population of four major cities. The district is New Albany, Charlestown, Clarksville, and Jeffersonville, of course. We also go to Upper Clark County, where it's a little bit more rural in New Washington, Odessa.
Mm,
We have those counties, and we have rural areas that have farms that also do soybeans and different other things as well. One of the major one of the other major pillars inside of Clark County is the city of Claysburg that has a festival every year that's been one of the strongholds of the African American West End community. And it's just to be able to see and inspire them walking into that area to possibly have their first African American district representative state house, and have someone to see someone like them is something inspirational as well. And the kids look up to me. And so it's just really good when I walk into that community and they're like, he's something different. I can look up to him. Can I do that too? Or how can I help? So that's been kind of like the things in Claysburg that's kind of been going on. I've been inspirational, but that's what the district is made up of.
let's see. Now, I have never heard of Blaisburg, and it is a travesty that I don't know more about it. So I've got homework now. After
Mhm.
we're done here, I got to learn more about Claysburg. It sounds like a fascinating little community.
Oh, it is. And what's been really pivotal is I go back to that community every time. And literally, one of the first times I had the conversations was in 2022, and I was speaking with the voter, and they're like, "No one comes around here. You're the first person that's walked in this community that looked like us or even talked to us." So I said, "I'll be back." 23, I returned and helped another candidate who is now the city council president in Jeffersonville. In 24, I helped on campaigns as well. And they're like, he's not going anywhere. I told you I'm going to be back and I'm going to grow this community. I'm going to shine a little bit light too as well, because we are supposed to hear from everybody. From Claysburg to New Albany, we're going to make sure everybody gets their voices heard.
Oh yeah. So I guess that covers the basic, the easy dubs, the who, what, when, where. But the more interesting, I guess, W question is why. Well, and I think you hinted at this. How you've been helped and how people have uh, you know raised you and helped you and navigate the system and grow and become the man you are today. But tell us a little bit more, I guess, about your motivation for running for office.
Yes. So my motivation actually not only is those foster families what they gave back to me, but it was my little brother. It was my little brother because I'm one of five, and so he looked at me and said, "Nick, look at you, look at you. You've you've made it." Because I always help people in the background, and I'd always done the volunteering, the my volunteering, putting my money where my mouth is, and then also using my talents with like public speaking. But he's like, "Look at you, you made it. I need you to do something more. I need you to do something." And so he challenged me to be bigger, something bigger than myself. And I said, "You're right." And so what I did is like I went on this journey of how to become more of influence, because I've always done the volunteer work, put the donations where, like I said, the money where my mouth is, and then also use my mouth as well to speak out. But I kept hitting a wall. And so once he said that, it was like, yeah, I can do more, because I was running into policies, I was running into laws, I was running to where the resources were going for communities. And so, but this is a chance right here to put the power back into the people, to choose politics, to stop choosing politics over people. And what we can do is start to make a better opportunity for individuals who are both younger than me, as well as make it fair with a lot of things that have happened in Southern Indiana's as well, because everyday Hoosiers are battling something from affordability to something mental health issues, so or homelessness. So how do we go about battling all those topics? And that's at the state level.
Yeah, 100%. So you mentioned 22.
Mhm.
This year, this campaign is not your first go round. What lessons do you take away from the campaign 4 years ago? Um, what do you what are you glad you know now, right? That you wished you knew the first time you tried this.
So I would say we built the infrastructure in 22. And like I told you, when I went into that Claysburg community, they said, no one's been in here before. I'm coming back every year. I'm going to build that out. I'll make sure your voices are heard. And so, what I learned is how to run a campaign. All right. And literally, like, how did you get to 38%? I thought what you did, you're supposed to go out there and talk to people and meet people where they are, and just went on knocking on doors. And now, that's what I did. That was a base, and everybody thought it was a very professional driven campaign, and I tied the people who helped and volunteered on that. So that infrastructure is there. Now, what I learned from that too is you've got to fundraise as well. And so
Mhm.
I wasn't ready to truly fundraise until now. And so literally after the session, the budget session ended on April 29th of this year, I went into fundraising mode. Actually, I was probably fundraising in 24 by getting people ready to say, "Hey, I'm going to hit this thing again and I'm not going anywhere. So let's raise the money and put the message behind the money to put that message out to all of Clark County, a little bit of Floyd too, because they said you had the right message. It just wasn't getting out because the money wasn't there. So that's what, if I could tell what I learned from that 22 campaign is you got to fundraise and get that message out. Your message hit, but I couldn't get it out.
It's a hard thing, and I think so many of the candidates I talk to are like, I hate asking for money, and I think we all do. It's like normal to hate asking for money, um, but it's such a big part of what you have to do when you're running for office, and um, I guess how do you navigate that, especially you mentioned affordability. How do you navigate asking folks for money when they don't have much to give right now? A lot of people are having a hard time just getting by themselves. Donating to a political campaign, I think, for a lot of people feels like a luxury item.
Yes. And so, what I would tell people who are experiencing that right now, understand that they are hurting. People are hurting right now. There's affordability issue. It might be no right now, right? It might be no right now, but they might be down the road. They may be able to donate to you. So, but at still at the same time, when you're having these phone conversations, what I do is before I ask for money, I said, how can I help and what's going on in your area? All right. And I listen to them. I just let them open up. And then what I do is I like, well, we've had a wonderful conversation. So let me, do that ask. And if they say no, I completely understand. But here's my link to my website. When you're ready to donate, do it. Okay. Because that's the thing that has to be made, that connection. You have made that connection point. You've touched that person. Literally, I've probably been on the phones probably like 5 to 10 hours a week, talking both to voters and also donors. And so it's been a really, like, one of the conversations that I had going back a little bit, a little tease into the affordability, is there was a member in Charlestown that I had a phone conversation with. She says, I'm doing okay. I make a decent check. And I said, that's good. Okay. So you're not having an affordability thing, but I have health issues. I said, oh, tell me a little bit more. What about health issues? She goes, well, I do have these health issues, but I can't afford the food that is healthy for me that will make me feel better.
Mm.
And you're like, wow, that's a different dynamic. You have someone that has good wages, but is deciding not to buy healthy food to make them more healthier. And that's a true conversation. That's when you got to pull back and say, you know what, I understand what you're going through, but here's my website. And when you're ready to donate, and I truly believe in it, and I hope everything gets better for you, but this is what we do. But learning to have that empathy at the time too, that'll extend so much out in the future. But those are some of the common conversations I've been having.
Yeah, and obviously, there's other ways for folks to help to get involved,
Mhm.
besides donating. What's your volunteer base looking like? With having done this before, I assume you have kind of a core group of people who are like, down to keep doing this. Are you got a nice base chomping at the bit, ready to get out there and hit the pavement, at the end of the winter here, especially once things get nice.
Uh, yes. And so the volunteer base, I have someone that has been with me since 22 that is sending out thank you cards and ready to send out mailers. And I have individuals that are ready to go knock on those doors and put out those door hangers as well. So we are kind of conserving their energy, of course.
Yeah.
They are parents, they are citizens, they are doing different things for their children as well. So you're like, okay, it's going to come, but what I need to do is conserve your energy. And as a good leader, I want you to be ready when I turn the what's the name turn everything on. And so they are there and waiting for everything to happen. And so, but what I'm doing right now, in between potty training my daughter and taking my son to basketball practice, I'm making those phone calls in between, before and after work, going to those community events. And that's what you're supposed to do. Find that healthy balance. So that's why I say it's coming. We're going to turn it on. Just be ready.
That's a lie. It amazes me, some of the folks I talk to, like you, who are raising young children while they're also running for office. I talk to Blythe Potter occasionally. She's got a 4-year-old and she's traveling all over the state. You got a couple of young kids. You got your potty training you're dealing with.
Mhm.
That's a handful. Um, it- and I don't know how you all get the energy. I sit here in front of my screen most days, and I'm like, oh man, I'm not getting anything done, and it's just astounding to see folks like you, like the Energizer Bunny out there, just getting it every day.
And so it's not only that I got to give props and kudos to my wife. Um, when we went on this journey in 22, that's when we had our daughter. And so literally, she was working as hard as me, saying on the computer, like getting the website together. Who can we call? Let's do this. And then now, when there's an event, we have a calendar. We're balancing, hey, I'm at this event, or hey, here's when basketball practice or soccer practice is. And so we balance together. She does a wonderful job of scheduling. She is the planner. And when I don't put something in the planner and it pops up on her, I get a nice little talking to. But kudos to her um, having this grace and giving me the ability to run again. And I say that with the most love in my heart, because if we got to do it as a team. And so that's something we when we started this journey, the political journey in 21, I said we got to do this together. And she said, okay, let's go. And she knew after 22 it wasn't going to be the end. But I truly thank her and love her so much for just giving me this chance to go at it again.
It's the political spouses don't get enough love. It really is. You said team. It is a team sport, and it might be your name on the sign, but it is both of you
Mhm.
really running for that office, and not just the two of you, but like your whole team. It really is a team sport. So as you're out there talking to folks, um, you know, maybe probably not knocking on doors yet, but you're going to a lot of the meetings, meeting folks in group settings, and everybody's telling you their stories. What are people telling you that they're looking for in a representative, that that maybe they're not seeing from their current representative? Just what do keep people keep coming back to again and again as their primary concerns?
I think one of the key things as they want as a representative is just like what Wendy Danchester is doing, showing up in the community. And so with me myself as well, I show up in the community too, through the good time and the bad times. And so that's where I'm at. So I've been hearing in what I saw in 22 when I knocked on those doors, and 23 when I knocked on those doors once again, it's you, it's you. I see you. I feel you. I'm talking to you. They want someone that's going to show up, listen to them, and then take that message up to the state house and then put down real results for not only for their county, but not only for their cities, but also for the state of Indiana as well. So I think that's what I'm hearing of what's going on, because it's so powerful just to sit in a room and not say anything and just go conversate with them. Recently, we had a Lions Club dinner in Charlestown where I walked in and ate my breakfast, sat there a little bit, and I went to every table, introduced myself. I said, "My name is Nick Marshall, and I'm running for Indiana State Senate. Um, of course, the county's in it. How can I help, and what's going on?" And they just start saying, group of people at a table, just like, "This is what's going on. This is what's going on." I said, "Okay, cool. I've got you. And what I can do is I can take these concerns and take them to the state house." And then they said that after that, we got done with the conversation. And I said, "Thank you very much." He goes, "Wait a second. What party are you with?" I go, "I'm with the Democratic Party." And well, they said, "We're all Republicans here." I go, "See, what I did is I walked up to you. I didn't care about your political affiliation. I said, how can I help and what's going on?" And we're supposed to talk to each other. And so that blew their mind that they had someone right in their face willing to talk to them about what they cared about. And I think that showed them even more praise, because almost at least 80% of the people I went up to were Republicans. And so if you show up, you talk to people, they'll be able to understand it. Even got down on one knee because we had a serious conversation about recent political events that happened. And I got down one knee. I said, "No, I'm here to talk. Tell me. Let's go." And that's what I'm supposed to do. And as your representative, even though I'm a Democrat, I'm supposed to represent you too. So let's talk. Mhm.
Yeah, you definitely don't see enough of that. I think a lot of folks in office feel like they're only representing their voters when, you're leaving a good part of your constituents out in the cold if
Mhm.
you approach things that way. Um you see, as you're talking to folks, like they're just desperate for someone to listen, right? Like, as politicians, they talk. You can find a politician that can talk. They're a dime a dozen. You can't
Mhm.
throw a rock without hitting one.
Yes.
But politicians that listen, that's a rare breed.
Mhm.
And people they'll just pour their heart out to you, won't they? Like, just like perfect strangers will tell you their life story and everything that matters to them if you will sit there and listen to them. Yeah.
Yeah. And they will. And that's what's been another learning lesson is like just I took that even to a different, I'm sorry, not learning lesson. I took it to a different level and start calling people, and start calling voters. And one of the conversations I had, I asked him once again, how can I help him? What's going on? And this voter said, I said, it's not till 2026, but I said, I'm still here asking and helping. Like, what's going on? He said, well, my wife just had a stroke and I'm almost retired, but luckily the stroke was not that bad. But, we really care about healthcare. We want to make sure, even though she's getting back on her feet, that she's going to be covered for anything that's going to ail her down the road. So, but he said, you already got my vote because you called me this early. You know, I said that's what we're supposed to do. I'm supposed to listen to you. I'm supposed to call you and supposed to lift you up. And you know what? I'm going to say this too as well. I'm going to pray for you too as well. That your wife keeps going through this situation that she is, and y'all can both be able to get to retirement. But that's the things. Hiccups happen in life, but also in our community, we need to lift everybody up too and help one another. These are the conversations that you have to represent not only Democrats and Republicans, but independents as well. And just had a conversation with the libertarian yesterday, which was crazy. And I'm talking to her. She had a Statue of Liberty hat on, and I go, what's going on with you, and how can I help? And we had an open conversation, and she was blown away. And she said, "You got my vote too." I was like, "Yeah, I'm supposed to listen to you too." So, and I will be in contact with you too as well, Miss Statue of Liberty hat. But that's what we're supposed to do. Those conversations go a long way.
And the healthcare crisis, the affordability crisis, the education crisis, these things do not care whether you are a Democrat or a Republican, on the end on the user end of the problem, right?
Mhm.
I mean, certainly the folks in the state house, the Democrats and the Republicans there, view these things a different way. But the problems themselves, they affect folks across the political spectrum the same way. Conservative folks in rural areas are affected by the the school choice, right?
Mhm.
The Republicans call it. Almost more so than folks in population centers because they are not served. They do not have a choice. There are not charter schools. There are not private schools in those rural communities. So I guess we talked about affordability
Mhm.
a couple times. It has come up in this conversation, and that goes for everything, right? Housing's unaffordable, childcare is unaffordable, um, food, right?
Mm.
Fresh, healthy food.
Yes. Yeah.
Like you can get all the ultra processed garbage you want, but being able to afford like fresh produce, that's out of reach for a lot of people, even people who are doing well. Like you said, what specific areas, I guess, of the affordability crisis are folks dwelling on as you're talking to them?
Yeah. So, where do we begin? Let me say that. So, I'm going to start with childcare. Um, we just recently, the state had taken away the vouchers for daycares. That is $100 to $200 per week for families that are low to moderate income that they don't have to subsidize. But now that is gone. We were literally in a town hall for Community Action of Southern Indiana, and the lady raises her hand. She said, "I'm a daycare owner." And we didn't, this is 2 days before they made the announcement. She goes, "I'm a daycare owner. I just got an email that says I've got to tell these families they're going to be out of $100 to $200 a week. How am I supposed to break that bad news to them? They have to do this, come up with this money by October 1st, right? Um, what do you want me to do?" And then also, that's revenue for my small business, my daycare, that is going to be gone. And then I can't turn around or pay my employees or give them a raise because that is affecting every branch of the situation. And so, literally, as this happened, this how it hit me. It is a blessing that I have the ability to pay for my daycare. Wouldn't you know, after that happened, 2 weeks later, we get a note in our mail saying that our daycare is going to go up by $30. So it affected us too. So no matter what, the affordability issue is going to hit you somewhere. And so that is a community story and then a personal story from us. So, hey, this is not our fault. This is decisions made at the state house that are rippling down, that are affecting not only the businesses, but also everyday people that are like me that, still voted and still took place in this situation. But now we got a $30 increase on our daycare. And now that family out there with a voucher has to come up with $100 to $200 a week. And now that business is missing out on revenue. So that is something going on that we are seeing. And we saw also in the city of New Albany that a couple of the daycares have cut back their Head Start as well as possibly shut down as well their daycare. And that's now going to affect the parents saying, okay, I don't have someone to take care of my child. I can't go to work. So now I'm going to missing out on an income and having one family, husband and wife, one of them has to decide if they're going to stay home to save that money to watch their child.
You're speaking to these like systemic up, downstream effects of decisions made far away from people's everyday lives. Like the child care voucher thing in Indianapolis. You see the legislators in charge now. They see a gap in the budget. They see a line, an item that needs closed. A spreadsheet that needs to come into balance, and it for many of them that are maybe out of touch, maybe removed from regular folks' struggles, that they don't think of all the cascading effects that something like cutting childcare vouchers has throughout the community, not just for the people who use those vouchers, but other people like yourself who use that facility. The providers need to make up that difference somewhere. It's coming from the people who can afford to pay, or can't afford to pay. Um, and then you look at something like SB1 that
Mm-hmm.
they passed this last year. That was Governor Braun's big signature item that he campaigned on, was property tax reform, and said, I'm gonna lower Hoosier property taxes, and yeah, maybe a few $100 get shaved off for some people, but that has massive ramifications in communities all over the state. Can you tell me some of the effects people in your area are seeing from the cuts to local government that SB1 has necessitated?
Yes. So let me say this. Good job on attempting to give relief for Hoosiers with property tax. You gave them the $200, $300 tax credit, but really what's going to happen is they're going to get a 300% tax increase. The ramifications of Senate Bill 1, and we've heard this from Mayor Treva Hodges, who is now having to look at their budget and probably cut some essential things that are there. And also
Charlestown, is that right?
Charlestown, yes, Charlestown.
Okay.
Um, cutting things in their budget, but also, even though they are able to give a tax increase, sorry, not tax increase, but a tax, giving them a price increase for some of the workers that do the utilities around and things around the county, they've had to cut some of their programs. And so, one of the big effects of Senate Bill 1 is Jeffersonville and Utica wanted to put together a fire territory. With Senate Bill 1 coming down, they had to actually rescind that because they were going to had to rescind it. And now the effects of Senate Bill 1 is Utica doesn't have fire protection. And you know what they did? They put in a volunteer fire station. All right. And so they're having to put volunteers at a station to make sure that they have ample EMS and fire protection. It does not go live until January of 2026. And these hardworking individuals, after they put at least an 8 to 10 hour day in, are going to be going to the firehouse to volunteer to make sure that small town has coverage because of what happened in regards of with the whole Jamie Knowles situation here too as well that affected us as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're looking at two cities that were trying to do the right thing. And then because of Senate Bill 1, they had to break it up. So now what is that? That is because of Senate Bill, now that plays into people's safety. The times were now, the EMS times were 30 to 40 minutes. And they're now trying to figure out a patch to get those times down. So that is the real effects of Senate Bill 1 because of the budgeting and the decisions that have to be made on the cities and the counties of how to alleviate this situation.
And yeah, so it's not just a matter of like robbing Peter to pay Paul. I mean, you might get this, property tax cut. Your state tax bill might go down, but localities, towns, counties, are going to have to raise taxes in many cases to make up for the
That revenue.
loss
Mhm.
of revenue. And you know, if they can't, you're paying for your life maybe because you don't have a fire department. Um, and so yeah, you're not. It's not like even robbing Peter to pay Paul. You're robbing Peter to also rob Paul.
Yes. And so that's the thing too. I didn't want to. Yes. So what they put in SB1 is they could increase the city tax and also the county tax to make up that revenue. But a lot of people won't feel that until 27, right? If they institute that.
Mm.
So what they did is like, okay, really, we're not going to worry about until our election is safe. Okay. That was their true decision to be done. All right. And then people are going to get upset in 27 when their taxes go up. But the situation is we have to start talking about the real issues that are happening. That fire territory. People look at cities and counties looking at their budgets and saying, okay, what can we do with and without? That is something you really don't want to have to start thinking about because all those city and county workers are hardworking individuals that are trying to provide for their families. Those individuals that are volunteer at that fire station now are putting 8 to 10 hours at their regular workday and now going to be trying to provide fire protection. Those are the real decisions and things that are affected by a Senate Bill 1. And so we have to start talking about that. We can get into the numbers, but I want to tell that story that the decisions that
Yeah.
some of these counties and some of these cities are having to make.
And you know, I think this is going to come around full circle nicely because what you're talking about essentially is that these folks are making these decisions and then avoiding accountability, right? They don't have to be held accountable for some of the negative consequences of these decisions until after the election is over,
Yes.
right? And what I want to bring that back towards it's it sounds like your foster families really instilled in you lessons of being accountable and maybe some of our Indianapolis legislatures could stand to learn some of those lessons.
And that is they're let's give us some grace. They're trying. They are trying. They are trying. Um, but that accountability is there. Like if I mess up my family's budget and something happens to my family, that's on me. And so what we have to put Indiana as is a big family. They are all holding budgets and they're all holding their breath that something does not happen to them, that they can balance their books. And so literally another thing about affordability, in 2021 in 2020 there was a food pantry that was started up in Utica. And so that food pantry is still going to this day and I just got delivering this Wednesday. And so what I'm noticing about affordability right now is the same thing that happened in 2020 when they started that. These are nice cars that are pulling up, nice cars that are asking for some assistance. And I'm sitting there, we've got a problem. We've got a problem. And someone tried to make the comment, why didn't you say this? And I said, no, I said this in 21, 22, 23, 24, and now I'm saying again, I'm seeing these nice cars pull up. There is something going on, and they're trying to get to the next paycheck, or they're trying to make sure they're providing for their family. And or choose between a bill and food. That is something we need to truly start paying attention about. And it just blows my mind that, like, okay, it is accountability, is the accountability of taking care of your brother and sister. You're taking care of your neighbor. And that's what was really taught because these foster families took me in and said, we're going to take care of you. And so that's the reason I want to give back because there is truly a disconnect between the state and the ground. And so once I'm here to make that connection, hey, I see you hurting. I see what's going on. So let me take this to the state house and see what I can do for you to make sure that you don't have to choose between the lights and putting food on the table. You don't have to choose between daycare and quitting your job. You don't have to choose between the hardest thing in the world. Um, hey, I'm going to give this $50 so you can go be in a sports, a community club or something like that. but those are the things that you be able to do. That $50 for somebody to invest in their child can go somewhere tremendously amazing. You never know what it could done. But those are the decisions that everyday Hoosiers are making right now. And we have to get back, just like my foster parent did to me, at that kitchen table saying, what do you want to do? Let's do it. Let's figure out how to win this thing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we're coming to the end here, and I can't wait to continue this conversation at a later date, and talk about applying some of those lessons that you've learned, and we can dig into some deeper policy issues, maybe get into things like healthcare and education and whatnot. But that will be then.
Mm-hmm.
But for right now, sir, why don't you tell the good folks out there where they can learn more about you, learn more about your campaign, maybe if they want to help you out with a donation, how they can do that, or if they want to volunteer their time or their talent to your campaign. Just where can folks learn more about Nick?
Yes. So you can find out more about me at HoosiersForNickMarshall.com. It is also on X, almost said Twitter, on X, Nick for Indiana. You can follow the campaign, and also Facebook, Indiana, State Senate Nick Marshall, State Senate for Nick Marshall is on my Facebook page. But yes, you can donate. We need every bit of money we need, right, to push this message out there that helps you, the everyday Hoosier, not decide, like I said, between a bill and food, between an activity for your child or them not doing it. It's between choosing daycare and not being able to, go to work. So I want to make sure that these things are heard about and listened to. And, I'll give you a little bit of taste of some of that, but I really want to be a part of the Appropriations Committee when I get up to the State House, and the Education Committee, with my background with education advocacy, making sure that those IEPs, those 504 plans, and behavioral plans are put into place for all individuals, and to make sure that our graduation rates are going up. And also help, something Kentucky does is they pay for GED testing. If there's individuals in Indiana that don't have their high school diploma, or that need to go back to get that better job. And so what does that mean? That's a better investment to the everyday Hoosier if they get their high school diploma and be able to go back and get a better job. And also, of course, something near to my heart is being on that family and social services committee too, to make sure that those kids in the foster care system become, the 3 to 10% goes to 5 to 10%, maybe 10 to 15%, to make sure that they get that college degree or that high school diploma, and make sure that they can get back to their community as well. But those are some of the policies I kind of want to be in, and also the committees I want to look at too as well when I get up in 27.
Well, awesome. I think we know what we're going to talk about next time when you come back then.
Yes. Just a little taste.
Oh, very good. All right. Well, I'm looking forward to that. But for right now, everybody, Nick Marshall, running for state senate. Help him out as best you can. And Nick, I thank you so much for being with me today here on the Who's Left Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Once again, that was Nick Marshall, candidate for Senate District 45, a kid raised by foster parents who learned the value of hard work, compassion, and accountability, who's betting on that same grit to rebuild Indiana from the bottom up. He doesn't engage in flowery but empty rhetoric. He speaks of real, concrete things in people's lives. Crowded food pantries, increasingly unaffordable daycare, diminished emergency services. Lots of politicians can talk, but Nick listens. And if you want to understand what Indiana's choices at the State House really mean for working Hoosier families, you should listen to him. But if you want to listen to me and a couple friends rant about the week's news from across Indiana and beyond, then you should tune into Who's Left This Week, which is now streaming exclusively on our own channels, YouTube, Facebook Live, and of course, at who'sleft.us, Indiana's most thorough weekend morning news and politics talk show. It's a lot of fun, if you can call following the news in this timeline fun. My panel and I go around the corn to cover all the week's top Indiana news stories and to look at the U.S. and international happenings through a Hoosier lens. I hope to see you there in the comments, but if you can't make it live, the program will be available for download later Sunday afternoon. This week, we'll be following the ongoing gerrymandering attempt by the State House and look ahead to the State Senate's response next week. Please join us. Thanks again to Nick for this interview, for his inspiring story, and for the humility he brings to a process so often populated by the self-obsessed. And thank you for listening. One last reminder to please consider contributing to this project with a paid subscription at whosleft.us, where you'll find my entire archive. I rely solely on the generosity of kind patrons like you to make this information available for free to everybody. In addition to the website, you can find me on Blue Sky, Instagram, and Threads at whosleft.us, and on Facebook, X, TikTok, Mastodon, and YouTube at Who's Left. Send me a DM at any of those sites with feedback, tips, ideas, and concerns, or you can email me at scott@whosleft.us. And hey, while you got the old email machine out, please forward the show to a friend and have them pass it on too. Let's keep building this project and a truly democratic state, one conversation at a time. Until the next one, my name is Scott Aaron Rogers. Love each other, Indiana.